Hello everyone, welcome to the Medi Data Perspective channel. This will be our first video in our Tableau playlist, and yeah, we'll be learning how to create stunning healthcare dashboard in Tableau. In this video, we'll be looking at the popular patient survey dataset where we'll be analyzing patient emergency room visits, and we'll be creating this beautiful dashboard. So if you want to become an healthcare data analyst, then I would encourage you to watch this video to the end and also subscribe to this YouTube channel. So with that being said, let's dive right in. This is the dashboard we'll be creating, the emergency room visit dashboard. So this dashboard has three major metrics: patient demography, the patient wait time, and the patient satisfaction score. And it contains, let's count how many charts: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, and it contains 15 charts. Okay, so I'll be showing you how to create these various charts and how to create this dashboard. So I've already created these charts. I will just go through each one of them one after the other. I actually created the charts down in order to reduce the time we would be spending. Okay, so we'll just go through each one of the charts and I will show you the process of creating each one. Then I'll be creating the dashboard for you all to see. So the first chart we'll be looking at is this. So let me click on this and I will go to this chart. So this chart shows us the number of patients that were visiting the emergency room department. To get this chart, all we have to do is to place our patient ID. So this is the column that contains our patient ID. So all I had to do was to place that column here and would get the count of that column. So we want to get we could either use count or let's use the distance count. Okay, so we would get the number of patients that visited the emergency room. If you can take note, this was placed under the test marks card. Okay, so if I click on this, you could see you can come to this place and edit this your test according to your preference. Let's go back to our dashboard. The next chart which I created was this line chart, and this line chart shows us the number of patients that visited the emergency room on a monthly view. Okay, so if I scroll through this, if you are looking at the tooltip, you see for April 2019 we have 479 patients. For June 2019 we have 506 patients. So this is a line chart. Let's click on this to see how we created this line chart. So this is the chart here, and you could see we have two test data here that shows us the month where we had the lowest patient inflow and the month with the highest patient inflow. To create this chart, I placed our date column on our column axis and the number of patients, that's our patient ID on the row axis. I changed our measure to count the distinct number of patients, while for the date we want to see this data by month, right? So we are extracting the months of that year. So to get this test which we have here, 530 and 431, I also placed the count patient ID on our test marks card, just like what we did in the previous chart which I showed you. So I also placed that column on our test marks card. So if I click on this, now you see our data here. Okay, so that's that. You can come here and choose the color you want. This time around I was using this color. So that's how this chart was created. So if you look at this chart, if I'm hovering around it, you will see this smaller text box that shows us the month's name and the number of patients that came in for that month, and you also see a bar graph. So to do this, I had to create this bar chart which you are seeing separately. Now to get this bar chart, I'll be showing you how I went about that. So let me click on this. So this is the bar chart that you can see there, and it shows us the number of patients by our gender. So you can see for male 51%, female 48.7%, and for non-conforming we have 0.3%. All I had to do was to place our gender column on the row as is, the patient ID on our column as is, and remember we are getting our count of those values. To get this test here, which you are seeing 0.3, 51.1, same process. I placed the patient ID on our test mask card and got the count of those values. So add this bar graph to your tooltip. All you have to do is to come to your tooltip and insert the sheet you want. That's the sheet we've created, and that sheet is called number of patients by gender. So let's look for that. So this is it, right? So all you have to do is to go to your sheet and pick the sheets you want to be included in your tooltip. So that's what we did here. So you can see this is the sheet, number of patients by gender, and this is how we can get it inserted in our tooltip. So you can see whenever I hover on any of the points, it changes based on the month value and tells us the breakdown by gender. So now let's go to the next chart. The next chart we had is the number of patients by age group. So let me click on this. For our number of patients by age group, I place the age group on the rows and the unique count of patients on our column as is. So you can see from this chart that the highest bar takes the darker blue color. So I colored this bar graph by the count of our patient ID, and to add this test also, I place this on the text mask card. So that was how we're able to get this bar graph. Same thing for the department referral, same thing for the number of patients by race. All you have to do is change the row as is to patient race, and same procedure, you'll be getting your values. So these are all the insights we got for the demographic for our patients. So the next measures we'll be looking at is the patient wait time. And to do this, so let's look at this chart where we got our average patient wait time. So for our average patient wait time, all I had to do was to place our patient wait time on this test mask card and get the average value. Okay, so with this we could get our average patient wait time. Then to edit this to your taste, you just have to click on test and decide on the font size, the font style, whatsoever you want to do with this. So you can just go ahead and edit it to your taste. The next chart we'll be looking at is this line chart, and if you guess as much, it's created same process we created this line chart. So let me go ahead and click on this so that you see how we did that. So this is our line chart, and this line chart it shows us the average patient wait time by the month. So you can see for the month of July 2019, the average patient wait time was 35 minutes. We had the highest patient wait time in the month of February 2020, which was 37 minutes, and the lowest was in this month of October 2020, which was 34 minutes. It also gives us a breakdown by the gender, and you can guess as much. It was carried out same process we did for our demography of our patients. So let's look at the next chart. The next chart is also a bar chart, and if we go ahead and look at this, you'll see that we were looking at the average wait time by admission, patients that were non-admitted and patients that were admitted. Same process, I placed the admission, the patient admin flag on the rows, then the patient wait time on our columns. But since we are looking at the average, I'll be changing the measures to average. Also, to get these values here, I place that patient wait time also on the text mask card and ensure to change this to average measure. Then also you can color by time the average patient wait time. So the next chart is showing us our average patient wait time by department referral, and it takes same process. All you have to do is to change this from the admission flag to the department referral column, and you'll be getting your data by the department referral. So you can see for neurology, we have 36.8 minutes wait time, while for Rena, we had 34.7 minutes wait time. Our last chart is this heat map. This heat map shows us the daily average patient wait time, and it does that by giving us the hourly value. So you can see we have from 12 a.m. in the midnight to 11 p.m. So on for Sunday, you can see 12 a.m. Sunday, the average patient wait time is 32.5 minutes, while for 3 a.m. on Wednesday, the average patient wait time is 39.7 minutes. So with these charts, you can decide, okay, which hour of the day would be more busy. You can see on Mondays 11 p.m. the average patient wait time is 40.7 minutes. So this must be a very busy day. The lighter the color, the lower the average patient wait time, while the darker or the more red the values, the higher the average patient wait time. So let me go to this chart so that you see how we created this heat map. So we place our dates column on the column axis, and if you click on this, we just went ahead to get the weekday value. If I click on custom, you see we got the weekdays date part. We also place that date column on our row axis, but this time around we want the hours, right? So if I go ahead and click on this, you see we got the hour value also. The next thing you want to do is to place the patient wait time on color, because you want to color this heat map by the average patient wait time, right? So you change your measure to average, and also you want to show this test, so you'll be placing the patient wait time column also on the test label. The patient satisfaction score. So to get the average patient satisfaction score, if you guess as well, it was same process we use in getting the average patient wait time. So if I go ahead and click on this, you would see our chart here, and all I had to do was to place our patient satisfaction score, place this column of data and on the test mask card, and get the average measure of that. Okay, so you could see we have 44.9. To get this over 10, you just have to go to your text and edit it. So you can see this is a test which I added to this. Okay, so that's how we got our average patient satisfaction score. The next chart we'll be looking at is this bar chart, and it was created same process we created other chart. So if I go ahead and click on this, you see we have our age group on the row axis. This is our categorical column, it's going to be on the row axis, while the patient satisfaction score column is going to be on the column axis, and we are getting the average values of that. So same process, you can color by the patient satisfaction score and also add a text to the text mask card. So the next chart we had here is the patient score by admission. So same process, you just have to change the column axis to patient admin flag. The last chart we'll be looking at is this chart, which talks about satisfaction score by department referral. So it's also a bar chart, and it takes same process. All I had to do was to change our row axis to the department referral, and it's going to calculate all the average patient score by the departments. So you can see in this chart that the renal department had the lowest patient satisfaction score of 4.6, while gastroenterology had the highest patient satisfaction score of 5.8. So these are all the charts we use in creating this dashboard. Now I'll be showing you how I put together this dashboard. So let me go ahead and create a blank dashboard page. I'll click on this, and we'll be creating our dashboard from scratch. The first thing I'll be doing is, okay, I want to get the size of this dashboard we are trying to create. So we're using size 12 by 900. Okay, so let me go ahead and click on that. So the first thing I do when I want to create my dashboard is to delete this phone layout. So I'll be deleting this layout and I'll be changing this to a fit size of 12 by 900. So let's say 12, and our height is going to be 900. When I'm done with that, this is a tied sheet, right? The next thing I want to do is to float a vertical container on this sheet. So I'll place this here and I'll go to the layout and edit this. Let me take this up 0, 0, and I want to change the width to be equivalent to our dashboard, which is 12. The height is 900. Okay, so we've done that. The next thing I want to do is to place a blank sheet. I'll toggle this back to tiled and I'll be placing a blank sheet on this. So let me go ahead and place a blank sheet. This blank sheet will be a placeholder and you'll see the use of it as we go on. So the first thing we did when creating this dashboard is to write our dashboard title, which is an emergency room visit dashboard. So let's do that. That is a test. So the first thing I'll be doing is to place a test on this. So let's write our title: emergency room visit dashboard. So you can go ahead and edit this to your taste. Let's use our troubleshoot ms. We want to make the font size to be about 22, and if you take notes, okay, let me make this bold and let me place this. So this is how it looks like, but if you look at this, we are having a black background and a white text. So let's go ahead and do that. Our text is white, so let's pick white. Okay, now I want to change the background of this, so I'll go to the layout and I'll be changing the background to black. So you can see this is the title of this dashboard. We've created the title of this dashboard. So another thing I want to do is make some bits of editing. I want to put a padding, an inner padding of 10. Okay, let's increase this to 20. And okay, yeah, so I want the text to move a bit. Okay, so we have an inner padding of 20 there. If you also take a look at this dashboard, you will see that there is no space between this text and the dashboard, outer dashboard layout itself. But if you see this, we have some white space, white space, white space. So all you have to do is click on this and remove this outer padding of 4, which we have on the side. So let's say 0, and now you can see that it's now lapping with our outer dashboard. The next thing we want to do is now create this vertical layout. So if you take note, you see that we have an outer layout where we have this ash color, then we have these 3 boxes inside. Okay, so how do we go about to create these? Remember that this is a blank. We are still using our blank sheet. What we want to do is click on our vertical container and we want to change our background color to this ash color. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is click on our dashboard now, and we want to place an horizontal container on this first. So horizontal. Okay, so we now have an horizontal container. Take note, this is our blank space, it's still here, so we'll still be leaving that. So this is our horizontal container. Now we'll be placing 3 vertical containers on that. So 1, we want to go to the extreme of this, place another, and we also need another container. So we have 3 vertical containers. Now what we want to do is, if we go back to this, you see we have some spaces between these containers, right? So we want to create those spaces. So for our horizontal container, let's click on this first. We want to give an inner padding of 20. Okay, so now you can see now that those spaces has been created. So if I click on this, you see we have space here, space here. If I click on this, space. Now to give the space between each of these charts, now I'll click on our first vertical container. Let's do 5, and let's do an outer padding of 5 also on the right. Okay, so now we cannot see our space yet, so but let's go ahead and start pulling in some charts into this. Okay, so the first chart we want to pull in is actually a test that will carry this writing demographic. So before I do that, let me place a blank on our vertical sheet. This will be like a placeholder, and let me go ahead and then put our test value on this. Okay, so we're saying demography same. Let's do 15. Okay, now let's place this here. I'll just go ahead and yes, drag this out to create more space first before we're going to arrange this and make it even. I'll just go ahead and place this in center. Okay, then if we take a look at this, you see we use this blue color, right? So let's go ahead and color our background by that blue color. Think as this. Now we'll go ahead and change the text once more to white so that we can see what we are doing. Okay, you can see these spaces. We don't like that, so we are going to remove our outer padding and set this to 0. Now you can see now it's lapping, right? The next thing we want to do is create, we have these are KPI charts, then we have 3 bar charts, so we need 1, 2, 3, 4 vertical columns. So this is what we are going to do. We have our blank still here. Now we'll be placing 4 vertical containers. So let's say 1, scroll down, 2, 3, 4. So this is our blank. Yeah, so we can now go ahead and remove this blank. We no longer need it. We now have our 4 vertical containers. So for our first vertical container, it's going to be containing our number of patients chart and our line chart. So let's look at this, look for the chart we need. Number of patients. Okay, so this is it. So I'll go ahead and place this on this chart. Okay, place it on the chart. Then we also need the line chart. Okay, so this is the chart, so I'll place it on this same chart, on this same container, and so we'll be having 2 charts on one container. So now I'll go ahead and hide this title. I'll close that, and this is it. So we now have our number of patients and our line chart on this container. That's for the first one. The second container is going to hold the number of patients by age group, so I'll go ahead and place that here. Let's look for that number of patients by age group. Number of patients by age group. Okay, so this is it. We'll be placing it on this container. So for this, all I have to do is I'll just go ahead and float this, and then I'll delete it. Then for this, I will go ahead and use the entire view. Then the next chart shows us, it tells us about number of patients by department referral. So I'll go ahead and look for that chart. I think we have it at the bottom. Where is by department referral? So I'll be placing that here. Don't worry, we'll go ahead and edit those later. So I'll go ahead and float these, delete it, ensure this is using entire view. Can just go ahead and drag this out, and this is our last container, our last vertical container. Our last vertical container is going to be holding number of patients by race. Okay, so we'll be placing that here, number of patients by race. Remember, we would also be using entire view. So now what I want to do is, now, okay, let me go ahead and float and delete this. Now what I want to do is, you can see this is our 3 vertical containers which we created earlier, and you can see this is smaller than this. So what I want to do is to go to the horizontal container we'll place these vertical containers on. So let's look for that. This is the horizontal container, right? So now go ahead and ensure that these are distributed evenly. Now you can see we now have enough space. The next thing I want to do is click on this vertical container. Let me arrange this, make this border. Okay, for the test, I think this was black, so let me go ahead and use black. Okay, now for this, I want to drag this up. Okay, then now you can see these values are now well spread out. Okay, so if you take a look at this dashboard, you see we are using the white background for our vertical containers. We'll click on our vertical container. Let me scroll this up. This is our vertical container, and we set the background to white. Okay, so we now have the background as white. So this is this, and we are making progress. You also see, if I click on this, that we have this little black line. Okay, so to create this black line, all I have to do is go back to my dashboard, look for a blank. Now I'll be placing the blank between the line chart and the number of patients by age group. So I'll place this blank here. I will edit the height to 10. Okay, now I would go to the layout. I want the background of that line to be black color. Okay, now the outer padding, on click this, I want to remove the up outer padding and the bottom outer padding. Okay, so now you can see we now have the exact replica of this column. So we'll be doing same thing we did here on this next vertical container. So the first thing we want to do is our test which says wait time, right? So that's what I'll be doing next. I'll go ahead, go to the dashboard, look for a blank object first and placed on this, so that it will serve as a placeholder. Next, I'll be taking my test and I'll be placing on this. So it says wait time. Okay, remember we need this to be black. $15. Okay, now, okay, we also need this to be centered. Now the next thing we want to do is to change the color. The color we used here was arch. Just go ahead and do that. We'll go to layout, go to background color. and this is the ash color, so we'll pick this. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is, remember, if I click on this, you see we have some spaces at the edge. We want to remove those spaces, so we'll go ahead and click on that, and we'll be removing the outer padding, so we want it to lap with our vertical container, and let's drag this down. So the next thing we want to do now is to add those 4 vertical containers like we did earlier when we're looking at the demography. So want to do that, this will be placing our first container. 1, let me scroll down, second container, and the third, and this is the last, which is the 4th container. So we can now go ahead and delete this blank because we are no longer going to be using it. Now for our first container, we would be adding the average patient wait time and this line graph. Okay, so let's click on this average patient wait time. Let's look for that chart, average patient wait time. Okay, so this is it. I'll go ahead and drag this on this chart. Okay, so we have our average patient wait time, and now the next chart we'll be looking for is this. Okay, so we'll be looking for this chart. This is the month average patient wait time by the months. Okay, so let's look for the line chart. I think this is it. So we'll go ahead and drag it on this same container. Okay, so both of them are going to be on one container. So all I have to do now is to uncheck the title. Also, I'll come here and uncheck this title. So we have both charts on one container. Let me drag this a bit down. Okay, a bit down. Now all I have to do is, now I'll drag this a bit up. So that's for this chart. The next chart we'll be placing here is average wait time by admission. So let's look for that chart. This is the wait time by admission, right? So I'll be placing it on this vertical container. Same process, I'll go ahead and float this and delete it. Next thing I want to do is place the average wait time by department referral. Okay, so let's look for that average patient wait time by department referral. So this is it. I'll place it. Let me go ahead and click on this, place it here, float this and delete it also. Now the next chart we'll be placing on our dashboard is daily average patient wait time, which is our heat map. Okay, this is our heat map. I'll go ahead and place it here. Okay, so now all I have to do is drag this down and ensure this is set to entire view. I would also click on this chart and drag it down also and ensure it's set to entire view. Okay, so we're making progress. Now this is to, let me take this up a bit. Okay, this is more like it. Now the next thing we'll be doing is to change our vertical container to this white background. Click on this. Okay, so this is our vertical container. I'll go to the layout and we'll pick a white background. Now if you look at this, you see that we have some gray and color. So let me click on this and let's format this. Check, let's tick none. Okay, same thing for this worksheet, none, so that all are going to use that vertical container color. Okay, this is none already. So now you'd see we have our sheet as the white background which we are using. So I'll go ahead and click on this float and delete. The next thing we'll be doing is create this black line we have under our KPI. So same process, look for a blank and place it between the chart and the average wait time by admission. I would edit the height to 10. Now go to the layout and outer padding, uncheck this. Want the top 0, bottom to be 0. The next thing, the background color is going to be black. Let me drag this a bit, okay, so that it's on same line. So the next container which we have now is going to be for our patient satisfaction score. I'll be placing a blank object on this, okay, so it helps us to make our work neat. So blank, then I'll be placing a test on that. Okay, so this test is going to be our satisfaction score. Now I'll go ahead and use same font size we've been using, font name 15, bold, ensure this is black. Okay, now I also want to center this. Now we'll be changing the color to yellow. I think that's what we used here. So we use this yellow color. So we'll be changing the background color to yellow. So I'll go to layout, background. This is the yellow. Pick this. Then to remove these spaces, white space you're seeing, go to your outer padding. Change this to 0. Okay, now you can see now that it's lapping. So I want to edit the height to 42. Okay, so if you take note, you see we have some space between this chart and this chart. I'll be doing that. I'll be showing you how we did that. You know, earlier on we placed an inner padding of 5, so we've not done that for this. So but let's go ahead and continue. We'll do that later on. So now I want to place our 4 vertical containers on this. So one is the first one. Let's go down. This is the second. Three, 4. So now we can go ahead and delete this blank. And if I click on this now, we can now go ahead and add in our average patient satisfaction and our line chart on that. This is the first vertical container, and we'll be placing our average patient satisfaction. We'll go ahead and click this. We'll place it on this one. Now we need the line chart also. We'll place it on same container. Okay, so let's place this here. Then we can now go ahead and uncheck this title. For this, uncheck the title as well. So we've done that. So the next chart is the satisfaction score by age group. So we'll go ahead and place that there also. Satisfaction score by age group. We'll place it here. Click on this, float and delete. The next chart is satisfaction score by admission. This is it. place, and now go ahead and click on this float delete. Don't bother about this, would arrange it as we are going on. So this is our last vertical container. So we'll be placing in our satisfaction score by department referrer. Now I'll be looking at satisfaction score by department referrer, and we'll be transferring that sheet to this vertical container and we'll place it here. Okay, so now we can now go ahead and click on this, ensure it's using entire view. Click on this, ensure it's using entire view. Okay, let's check this, make sure we are using entire view. Okay, now I can go ahead and click on this, and now let's take this up. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is for our container, vertical container, we want to ensure that the background is white. So same process, we're going to be clicking on this, look at format this and ensure that the shading is using none. Okay, so now none, or shading none. Shading none. Okay, so we want to use just the background color. If this is not white enough, let's click on this, let's go to our background, we can decide to pick this. Okay, I think this is more whiter, so let's click on this background, use this white, click on this background and use this white. Okay, so I think it's looking more whiter now. So remember, we have an outer padding of 5 on the right, inner padding of 5 for our verticals. That's how we could get the space here. So let's do same thing. Now want the left to be 5. Okay, so you can see now we have more space, right? But we don't need it on all sides, so let me change this back to 0. Let me uncheck this and check the left to be 5. Okay, I still need the right to be 5. Okay, now I can go ahead and do same for this. Okay, now I need the left, let me uncheck this first, and I need the left as 5. Okay, so you can increase that to your taste, but I feel this is okay. So the next thing we'll be doing is to add our black line, right? So let's go ahead and pick our blank. So now we can go ahead, edit this blank, the height to 10. Okay, now same process, go to your layouts, your outer padding, uncheck this, we want the top 0, bottom has 0. Now we want the color to be black. Okay, so now we have that line there as well. So we are almost done with our charts. Now remember, we still have a blank here. You can go ahead and add a text. So if I go ahead and look at this, you could see I just added my initials here. So you can just go ahead and do same thing. You'll be using a text, so add the text here, and we can just say my channel name, Medi Data Perspective. Okay, so now edit this, we'll be using troubleshoot, MS. I need this to be 9, bold and black. Okay, so can now go ahead and paste it. So I want this to be centered as well, so I'll go ahead and center this. Now I can now go ahead and delete this blank space. We're done with it, we no longer need it. Okay, so I also want this the background color to be white, so background, we're using this white. So I can also decide to, I want it to lap, so outer padding, inner padding, need this as 0. So that is our dashboard. So you can see, if you go ahead and scroll through this, you see the 2 tips showing us the breakdown by gender for the average wait time, for the patient satisfaction score. Let's use entire view. Okay, so that we can have the space. Same thing, entire view. Okay, now let's go ahead and drag this down. Still drag a bit. Yeah, perfect. So that's how I went about creating this dashboard. Simple, right? Another thing I love doing with my dashboard is using this inner padding. So I'll be setting this to 10 and you'll be seeing what it does. You can see it helps in pushing in our values in a bit, so instead of them touching the edge, so we'll be doing it for all the charts. So 10, 10. Okay, so we are done. This is our emergency room visit dashboard. I hope you were able to follow along. This is how I was able to create this stunning emergency room visit dashboard. If you are new here, ensure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Here we discuss data, healthcare, and everything in between. Would help you to, transition into healthcare data analysis, learn how to analyze healthcare data, and also learn other analytical tools. I also teach other analytical tools like Python, Tableau, and SQL. Ensure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the process and find it very useful. Bye for now and see you in my next video.